Hello, everyone. This is Abracadabra Sisters, except tonight we're Abracadabra Sister because Sharon has a deadline at work. So I'm here today to talk with my dear friend Vickie Ramirez, a playwright extraordinaire. And we've known each other now we just figured out the other night, like 26 or so years, right? It's been that
Yeah,
long. Yeah,
yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah.
yeah. So we were in the same writing class in the 2000 era, like that year, I think, the
Exactly.
new millennium.
New
No,
millennium.
children,
Yeah, I think it was 2000 actually, now that
2000.
I think
Yeah,
about it. Yep,
yeah. Writers boot camp, just to plug them. I don't know if they're still around or not, but anyway, learned how to write a script, and it was fun.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you at that time had a real job, and
Mm-hmm.
yet,
I did.
and yet you did not let your creative genes sit. They were not resting. You were still creating and writing and thinking and all that stuff. So talk about that for a little bit, what it was like to really have a full-time job.
Well, I think that's the story for most writers. We all have to have some way to keep a roof over the head, some way to keep food in the stomach, because worst comes to worst, the truth of the matter is if you're hungry, you're not going to be particularly creative either. But yeah, I was a concierge for 20 years in New York City, which also had a lifestyle that you had to sort of pursue a bit because you had to make the connections to do the job correctly. You had to know the managers in the restaurants. You had to see what was going on at the latest shows at the galleries to understand what recommendations to make to people, see the shows. But I had always written, even from when I was very little, different formats, of course, storybooks, little articles for the local paper. But I really wanted to tell stories for a living, and I really fell in love with three-dimensional storytelling. So when I started at Writers Boot Camp with everybody, you, it just really unleashed something in me that said, okay, now you want to do this for yourself. Concierge is a great job, but I wasn't feeling happy. I wasn't feeling satisfied. I wasn't feeling like myself. I felt like I was in a costume every day. So how do you find that for yourself? Well, you make sure that you find a way to just sit and get the writing out. And slowly but surely, it's not going to be at the same speed as somebody who is able to write full time at that time. You start getting your work out, and slowly but surely, work starts coming back. So
Yeah.
that,
Do you feel like actually working on a job informed your process as well at the same time? Like, did it give you discipline, for example?
definitely gave me discipline, and I also think it gave me lots of raw material as well. I
Yeah,
freely
yes,
admit to
definitely.
stealing from my
You did. I do
wonderful
remember
guest.
one script you were talking about that had to do with the hotel, which sounded pretty funny. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. People are amazing, wonderful creatures that sometimes you think you can predict them, but they come up with these amazing things that you would never think would happen. And it's like, oh, I got to witness a few of those, so yeah, I'm
Yeah.
stealing them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, it definitely did that, and it it kind of also allowed me to sort of keep up the facade during the day because I knew I had something to go home to that I
Mhm.
really, really loved.
Yeah. Great. Great. Well, now you have achieved an echelon of success that is just amazing and great, and awards and having your work produced and speaking out with a specific very powerful voice. So I'd love you to talk for a little bit about what is your writer's mission,
My mission has always been to tell a good story and to entertain people and bring
first
them
and
along
foremost.
with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
First and foremost, more than anything, since I was 3 or 4 years old, I loved being told a good story. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to share that with people. But of course, I'm Indigenous, I'm Native. I'm coming to you from Six Nations of the Grand River right now, my mother's reservation and my home res.
Your tradition, your cultural tradition has a storytelling element to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, there is, traditional storytelling is far more than, um, you know, entertaining with us. That is how we shared our histories. That's how we shared medicines. That's how we shared our culture with the kids. We have this whole our entire infrastructure is tied up with storytelling. Now, I'm not necessarily weaving those traditional stories into my work. I might carry the lessons with me, and that might infuse the work, but
That
that
was what I was
to
going to
me,
say. There's a certain ethos that you might want to imbue it with.
for us, the traditional storytelling circle is sacred. And the
Mm.
one thing I make a point of saying is I am not a sa there will be no ceremonies in my stories. There will be no um, me sharing things that should not be shared publicly. But will I tell you a story with our point of view? Absolutely. Will I share
Mhm.
a Tuscarora point of view, Haudenosaunee point of view in a minute? Because um, we do have a very strong and unique culture. We have a very long defined culture. People don't realize, but I'm working on a piece right now that is sort of celebrating Haudenosaunee, the Great Law, and it's part of the democracy cycle at PAC NYC. And it's just a totally different approach towards democracy because we have this whole culture of you're born with responsibilities and duties as a citizen. And those responsibilities and duties are kindness to your neighbors, helping to care when the community needs all hands on deck. You are part of the community. That's your responsibility, not optional. Caring for the land, treating the land with respect, not taking more than needed,
I'll
but
always
taking.
remember you saying one time that in my culture, when we pick the raspberries, we think of the next 7 generations and whether or not they will get the raspberries, though we pick them with respect. Or you said something like that, that you're thinking forward. In our culture, we're thinking backward. What did what did they leave for us in our history? But it's very important to think about what are we leaving for our descendants, and how much of the earth will they will they get that's clean and clear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I think that's a excellent metaphor right there. It's about if you look at foraging, you look at plants in the woods or even growing your own plants. Um, Say you come to a field that has acres and acres of beautiful strawberries, all ripe and ready to go. We don't pick the first one because a plant needs that first berry. That first berry provides seeds for the plant to regrow the next year. But we also don't clean it off either and package up the rest to sell because other beings need those
Hmm.
berries. Other
Yeah.
people might need those berries. You take what you need and leave
Yeah.
it there. And that way you don't have to actually run and sort of pick it dry because it's wonderful, it's delicious, but it's a resource there for everybody and
Yeah.
every being. So
You
it's
know,
just things like,
it might be because of your influence. I have my own little practice here on the hill, where I live. I'm on a steep hill. So if ever I have like any leftover raspberries or any berries, apple cores, rotten apples, whatever. I just fling them all down the hill because I
there
figure
you go.
let's just let this be a fertile forest for I'm not going to go down there. It's too steep. But if
Right.
anything grows down there, I'm really happy that it'll grow for the rabbits or for the birds or for the whatever other animals that
A
are
wandering
around.
hiker too,
One
you know.
wandering hiker. Yeah, well, I'm not going to be hiking on this steep hill. A deer maybe, but not a person.
It's about just being very conscious of the fact that what is it the Romans used to say, memento mori? Remember,
Mm,
you must die. So it's kind of like, remember, you're
mhm.
only part of the equation. You're not the entire equation. All of us are.
Yeah.
We carry a bit of a journey with us, or we carry our own big journeys with us. But in the journey of the planet, we're part and we're just an element. We're an element that, and if we are careful with everything, it's an element that we help maintain the beautiful sort of interwoven aspects of the planet that just makes it beautiful, lush, and such a wonderful place to live, really. Um,
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
that we've done to it is what makes it hard, but it's really beautiful, you know?
Yeah, it certainly is. I agree with you. I'm finding myself talking to the trees. I've always been a tree hugger, but now I'm talking to them.
No shame in the game. I'm not ashamed. I am
Yeah.
not ashamed.
Yeah. 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 So, but now you have also a very sort of mischievous horror side to
hmm
your taste for, entertainment. And so where does that come from? What's going on there?
I just have like I've always loved a good twist of a tale. And I mean this reservation, my God, every corner there's a ghost story. Everybody is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, did you see that man with the hat down?" And it's like, or I heard they saw something over at this place. There's always ghost stories going
Yeah.
throughout. It's so deep in our culture. It's so deep. It's like it's a recognition that what is the thing, that nothing you there are more things in heaven and earth,
That's
than
Shakespeare,
right,
Horatio.
right.
Horatio, there's not
Yeah.
more things in heaven and earth than thou shalt know, or something like that. Yeah.
Dreamt of in your philosophy, but it's really true. There are things that
Yeah.
we don't quite know what's going on, and
I
now.
love that stuff. I love that. I'm passionate about the mystical and the mysterious. So,
Well, what's hilarious is my mom, who was the native, was very much like we were going to psychic fairs, we were
yeah,
going
great.
to healers, we were going to ghost stories. She was all in. Then I have my dad, the Jamaican pragmatist,
Yeah.
watches Nova, National Geographic, the nature of things. Like he was very much a science person too.
He was in the
But
military, right? Was
he
he in the
was in the
military?
military. He
Yeah.
was actually
So,
in the RAF, yeah, because he came from Jamaica for
yeah.
World War II. Um, and he
Oh,
signed up for the RAF. But yeah, he worked on he had his own team of mechanics repairing bombers in Birmingham, the Birmingham.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But so he
Interesting.
was very much a pragmatist. So,
Yeah.
but that's the one thing I like is I've managed to find like the people who are also science geeks who are, because I think the essence of the nature of science is not to say that doesn't exist, but unless they prove it, but rather to say, well, we don't know how to prove that yet, or we can't quite prove to you what that is. And
Right.
so they keep an open door. It's
Yeah.
like they'll never say, no, there aren't space aliens. They'll say, we have no recorded evidence. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that
Yeah.
in between. But yeah, so that long answer is I love that stuff. I'm all in. You know I'm all in, Muriel.
I
I
know.
love
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not all in on horror, but I'm all in on like anything mystical, magical. I keep thinking I should explore my like Welsh roots of I wasn't born in Wales, but I think I've had past lives in Wales as a magician. So,
right.
I
Oh,
want to
excellent.
figure that all out, get like think about that more and because every indigenous culture, even the European indigenous cultures have strong, strong traditions of the mystical. Like if you go to Iceland, they'll talk about the what is it, the gnomes, they're like have a
Mhm.
100% belief in gnomes, and they have like little gnome figures all over the place.
Honestly, I think every culture in the world has that originally. And to me, I'm wondering if it's not it's as we built up the cities and got away from the land, and the land is where a lot of stuff happens, where you suddenly it's that ins I mean, it's also tied to our old survival instinct of being in the woods, and it's like, okay, this might be the time to go and get in a cave or go. And it's like, why? Because a tornado's coming through. But we get that, what they call that
Yeah,
sixth sense. That
yeah,
is something we all carry. And I think
yeah.
getting away from the land, I had such a epiphany when I moved back here from New York City, because, I was there for 35 years.
I know.
Um,
Wow. And we miss you,
I miss you guys too, but it's a train ride.
right?
But
Yeah.
I found that like I've started gardening and things, and that connection to the
Yeah.
land, awakening a lot of things, a lot of stuff that's happening and moments that I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, what's happening here? And I think we'd find that the more we take people out of those, because if you're in a cement box several floors above other cement boxes, you're not going to have that same connection. You're not, there's a lot going on
Unless
in
you
the body.
cultivate it, if you sit and meditate every day, you can cultivate your
Exactly.
connection in some way. But I have a weird story from when I lived in Vermont. I lived in the woods off the grid when I was like
Oh,
21 or something like that, and with a boyfriend. And one day I was by myself at the house, which was completely off grid, a mile up a dirt road in the middle of nowhere in the forest. And I'm wandering through the forest. And all of a sudden, I hear, as bright and clear as anything, the pipes of Pan, like,
oh, wow.
like a little trill of some kind. And I was like, oh my God, what was that? And I kind of you could see through all the forest. I could see, it wasn't so dense that I couldn't see for quite a distance. And there was nothing there. But I've always believed that Pam was right there somewhere with this pipe.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I told you about my mom, right? That she was out hiking in the woods behind Grandpa's house here on Fifth Line. And she was out in the woods. She hadn't been there since she was a little kid. And she got a little turned around. And she was going, going, going. And all of a sudden she hears a voice. And they called her by her nickname, Ophi. And they
Mm.
said, "Oh, stop." And mom went, "What? What?" And she's like, "Ophi, stop." And she was looking around. And then she looked down and she was about to step into an old well that had been dug back there because somebody's home had been
Oh,
up in the woods. And there was
wow.
this rotted wooden cover. And she was like, oh my God, because if she had fallen, it was before the days of cell phones, you
There'd
know?
never, yeah, there'd be no help. Wow.
And
Good.
so,
Yeah. Well, they're protecting us. There's a lot of protection we have. A lot. Here we are on the mystical, but I love to talk about the mystical, So,
well,
yeah.
I feel like my mom is sitting here going, babes, tell her about.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you my story. I'm probably told it to you once before, but it was just like 1999 or something like that, and I swerved to avoid a skunk on the road. I'm sure I like skimmed the side of the skunk and skinned its feather, its fur off, and then I was in a Land Rover. And so it immediately went into a tail thing where the back of the car started pushing past the front of the car and it started fishtailing more and more and more and more and more. And I was like, oh no, how am I going to get out of this? And then I see the car heading towards a huge rock face that had been cut the side of the road. I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess this is it. This is this is it. I've just I've just bought it. I'm done. And then the back wheel of the car caught the side of the tarmac or something, and then rolled down the ro rolled over a couple of times. And I'm in it. And I swear I felt like I had arms around me like this from somebody in the back seat. There was nobody in the car with me. I felt these arms around me like this with their hands holding my head firm like this
Oh,
as the
wow.
car rolled. And
Wow.
uh, and then I stepped out of the car. I was completely fine. It was destroyed, but I was fine.
My
And then
God. Yeah.
and then after I went to look at the car in the lot where they towed it to, I sat back in the driver's seat, and the corner of the Land Rover, which would have typically been about here, had crunched all the way to here as I was sitting in my seat with my head back to the if my head had moved a little bit, which it should have because I was rolling all over the place, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
here. So
Oh,
protection.
wow. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you always have in your plays some pieces of that mystical connection. There's something like you have special characters that are um, guardians or mischievous, what are they, Kachina? Kachinga, I don't remember the word, but there's a name for those characters that cause
Right.
mischief and
Well, yeah, like tricksters and things.
tricksters.
Yeah, I don't have so much of those, but I do have characters that are in the other realm because I do feel like we don't walk into an empty room ever. We don't
Ever.
walk into it
I
ever.
agree. Yeah.
And it's the characters that I always like either it's sometimes I throw like I love my bad mind. Bad mind is I don't know why. I connected with Bad Mind very young, but
Yeah.
the wins are other ones, and or sometimes it's just an auntie or an uncle who are lingering around and just going, "Oh, don't be goofy. Go talk to him. He's cute, but you can't.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
there with you. And it's funny because when Native people do see my plays, they don't even question that aspect. They're like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
It's like, of course your auntie's there. You know, it's kind of they just take it as day to day. The sun goes up and you're not in an empty room ever. It's just facts. know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have an aunt on my grandfather's side, on my mother's father's side, who was the family mystic. She would tell people's futures. After she'd wake up from her nap, she'd start telling people what was going to happen to them in their lives. And she was right.
It's always disconcerting when that happens.
Yeah. So what's happening right now? What are you working on right now?
Well, right now I have a showcase production, a small showcase production at Playwrights Horizons happening of one of my
Great.
older plays, the one you guys have seen it, Standoff at Highway 37, the one about the land claims dispute. But they're
Yeah.
going to do a production of that mid-June or towards the end of June with the Democracy Cycle project that I'm doing with Ty Defoe and Jeanette Harrison. We're going to Berkeley Reps ground floor workshop, so they're flying us out for that.
Great.
And we're doing Cut Spawn at the end of summer, which is again another sort of workshop performance space. So we're going to do like a presentation for the public as well. But it's going to be
Great.
fun. It's out in the woods and going to run around and do nonsense, have some fun outside.
Yeah. Great. So it's going to be an outdoor production. Is that what you're saying?
It's well, the design of the production, it's called Six Nations, One Fire. It's about the Haudenosaunee impact on American democracy
I
and
love that.
our great law of peace.
Yeah.
So
I love
we're
that.
we're just
Yeah, I want you to talk a little bit more about that because you and I had a conversation about it after your last play reading, and it's very interesting to me because of what I'm doing with the American flag and
oh
having
yeah.
discovered And having discovered the Native American influence on the Constitution, which even earlier than that, American documents like the Flushing Remonstrance, which led to the Constitution, which was designed and which is constructed with assistance of the the native peoples in that area of Flushing, New York, back then in like 1767, I think it was. I may be wrong, but I think it was back then. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great, great, important information.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of when I first wrote Standoff, I found out about this and I hadn't heard about it. And the thing that was surprising to me was that it had been effectively erased from the conversation about the Constitution. And, everybody takes pride in the Constitution, the great, but the great law of the Haudenosaunee people, um, Jefferson references it, Benjamin Franklin references it a few times, James Madison has acknowledged it, Washington has acknowledged it, and there was a whole thing where Kennesago in 1744 went to a meeting of it was the initial colonies were having a meeting, a conference. I think it was Lancaster. I might be wrong about where it was located, though. My brain is like Swiss cheese these days. But Kennesago went there and did a presentation, not even a presentation, but just because the Haudenosaunee, we had a thriving trade system set up. We had our different nations' lands. We had a whole functioning society that was working what people forget tandem, like hand in hand as a trading partner with the initial settlers. There was none of this Wild West Indian Wars nonsense. We were actual trading partners, and
Yeah.
we were just really tired of say having to negotiate one on one and go, but this person said this and you won't do, and it's like, well, how about why don't we come together and have a conversation? So kind of Satago talked to them about the organization of the Great Law, how it brought the initial five nations together um, as a unit, but it allowed the five nations to maintain their individual identities, language, and forms of governance, and that it was the five arrows together, that analogy of five arrows together are strong. One arrow breaks. And that this way, everyone, because if you cut somebody out of the conversation in a place where you live, everyone people start getting resentful. And, he presented it to them. Of course, by the time they finished, women were removed. See, in my culture, of course, women choose the chiefs. The chiefs are the spokesmen. Um, but the clan mothers are like they decide who's this chief. They manage at home. Let's put it that way. The chiefs go and speak on behalf of the nations. So there's a very much an equal sharing of responsibilities, and all those voices helped form the government and choose who was running things. And it's been an active, like we're the longest running functioning democracy in North America. They've settler timing counts it as over 1,000 years. We say it's probably a lot more, but
I
um,
was going to say that a lot of us don't even think that about that issue that the native culture was functioning for far longer than our 250 years, which we're not doing a very good job of right now. And and so it was smart to look to these people that have this long-term wisdom.
I mean, the Confederacy was pretty much, it was born out of fighting, but it was born well before any settlers got here. And it was somebody getting the dream, getting the idea of, hey, not a this is not a way to progress or thrive.
Or
Why
just
don't
live
we?
together.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is a way to preserve resources, but it's also a way to take advantage of everybody's different skill sets. Senecas
Yeah.
and Mohawks were warrior nations. The rest of us might be considered farmers. The Onondagas were the more spiritually oriented, the keepers of the fire, and the natural leaders. Like they have all these different roles and duties again, that duty thing, which is not a bad word in our culture because all the kids know it. All the little kids, they know did you do your duty today? And not duty, but duty. Um, um,
I'm gonna tell you, that's very fun, silly aside. When we first came to this country, I was in my like hi history class, or I think it was like yeah, American history or foreign history or something. I don't remember. Anyway, so the teacher was talking about the duties of the people. And he's like going on and on about the duties of the people. And I'm from England. I'm like, what is he saying? He's talking about duty? Why is he talking about duty? It took me a while to finally, it's like I was reading and then I saw, oh, duty. He's talking about duty. Anyway,
I love that
we
though, Muriel. That's excellent.
we speak English, but we don't really speak English. You know.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, all these stories are so important. And I feel like we are in a moment now of real consciousness of trying to wake up to, the
Mhm.
value of everybody's contribution and to understand what the past contributions were. I realize I misspoke before because I said American Indian, but I guess I meant Native American. I don't know. What do we say now?
I
It's
mean, yeah, I mean, Native American, indigenous, but honestly, Tuscarora. I'm Tuscarora. You
Tuscarora. Now,
know,
Tuscarora covers Haudenosaunee and various other groups of people, or
we're just one of the six.
you're one of
We're
the
the
six of the
six
Haudenosaunee.
member nation of the Haudenosaunee of the Iroquois. Um,
Yeah, Iroquois. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which is wrong. That's a French slur, and it's because the Ojibways were being doofuses, and they said Iroquois, that means little snakes, and the French are like little snakes, but of course the Ojibways meant little snakes.
Yeah, there are so many aspects to what you're doing that are really, really important. The education of Native American history or indigenous history, the indigenous history. We need to understand each other better and respect each other better and glean whatever wisdom we can from each other. Not just that, I mean, enjoy the music and the food and the entertainment and the stories, the great stories, the
Mhm.
stories about how
Yeah.
the earth was made from all different cultures and is fascinating to me. So I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. I can't wait to see the next play. So, and
Thanks.
I've read a couple of them and I've heard some readings and they're always good.
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear.
So you got something that's like hiding in the on the back shelf that's waiting for the space to get started? Like, is there like a secret story that isn't out yet or has you haven't started yet?
Uh, not yet. I mean, there is something that's a little out of my usual realm. It's sort of exploring the nature of art and the appreciation and recognition of art. Um, like how, what is, what, like, is it a strict definition? Is and sort of just kind of how do we explore that? How do we, because I sort of had a revelation, talking with the younger kids, my niece and nephews and their kids, and just over music because I was such a music head when I was a kid. And trying to wrap my mind around what is considered wonderful today or what is considered, like, like the younger generation actually gets really bored watching movies for too long. They can't, the attention span isn't quite the same anymore. I'm like, so
Yeah.
is that a bad thing? And part of it is, but another part of it is this another version of evolution? Is this something where we need to evolve to engage these kids?
Yeah.
And hopefully find a way to engage them outside of their screens.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I find myself having not having the patience for a full-length movie these days too. I'm like, like,
Yeah,
oh, do I want to watch like a 20-minute thing on YouTube, a 20-minute talk on YouTube, or should I'd rather just watch a 3-minute thing on, Instagram or
right.
something
And
like
how
that.
does that inform our work though as writers too? Like how
Yeah,
do we because I got really frustrated with the film I saw recently that well, I'm not going to say it on here. That was an adaptation of a well-known book, a book I'd loved since I was a little kid.
I know which
And
one you're talking about because I had that
yeah,
same feeling about it. Yeah.
for me, it's like it strip mined any of the emotional content and just went to the tangible action. It's like, so is this how we have to write the stories now? Because the person who created it was of the younger generation. Or is there still space? Is there a way we can find to quickly engage these kids? Because I've seen them also really respond well to some movies that have a little more depth to them, but they are done rather episodically. It's curious, like I'm curious about the nature of it all. And so
Yeah.
that's what I want to explore with
Yeah,
another
well,
piece.
I think in addition to that, like I remember my one of my nieces, she's now 40 years old, but years and years ago when she was little, she was 5 or so, we went to see Beauty and the Beast. And she she climbed on my lap like in the first 5 minutes or so and just huddled on my lap with her head facing into my shoulder, like shaking and crying because she was so frightened by it. I don't remember what started in that movie in the very beginning that frightened her. And I kept saying, Erica, do you want to go out? Do you want to just go out? Because she said, no, I want to see the film. I said, but you're not seeing the film. And she said, no,
You're
no, I
seeing
want to
the
see the
filter.
film. Anyway, she was just so terrified. And I mean, it wasn't that terrifying of a film, but I was terrified by the what was that one? The 101 Dalmatians. I remember that one. That was trauma for me. I had nightmares for months afterwards. But this past weekend we went to see the Mandalorian and Grogu, and
Right.
there was a little kid sitting next to me, probably about 6 or so, and she was just like, just like, like just sitting
Blase.
there, blasé, the whole time. She didn't laugh, she didn't jump, she didn't scream, she wasn't like, she wasn't upset by it at all, nor was she excited by it. And I was thinking, wow, it was a scare. I mean, scary. There's scary moments and there's a lot of shooting and a lot of fighting and yet she was completely unmoved by it. So I don't know what's going on, new generations,
New
new
generations.
new sensibilities, and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Last question, I guess, is what keeps you going? Like, do you have like a moment where you think, oh my God, I'm not gonna finish this. This is just killing me. I don't like this one. I don't, do you throw it out? Do you start again? Do you find some resource somewhere? How do you keep it going?
I mean, I always get to a point like that with my stuff. There's a point where
Yeah, it's typical,
it's,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Um, I would say I just have to go away from it for a bit and indulge my bad habits, like whether it's um, going and playing a video game or watching some terrible reality show or
Yeah.
something, just a little bit of silliness and a little moment of, and it's like, why do you love this? Because you love telling stories. And it's like, but why is this one bothering you? Oh, it's not going where I want it. So there's something there that is, it's like, okay. So what I find is just sitting in front of the screen, concentrating, trying to solve why it's not feeling right
Yeah.
is it wastes your time and it wears you out on the script. Once you
Oh
start
yeah,
feeling
walk away from it. Yeah, definitely
you
walk
got to
away from
walk
it.
away and you got to
Yeah.
get outside too. You got to get
Yeah.
away from the screen. You got
Yeah.
to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, writing is very hard. I had a job like a couple of weeks ago to fix a part of the script, the Empress story script, right? So I had to fix this part and I had to come up with like a moment. And I was I was here in this studio here. I was standing up. I was pacing back and forth and pacing back and forth. Then I was like sitting down and meditating and I put my feet on the floor and I'm thinking, send it to me. The ethers like send me this big idea that I need that's gonna like knit this part together. I need this thing. And I just like pacing around and around and around in circles. And then finally, boom, it popped. I was like, oh, that's it. Thank you. Perfect. Let me sit down and write it. So I wrote it. And then I thought, okay, that's done. That's great. And then I realized like the next day that I had to flesh it out more because it didn't really explain itself very well, but it was the moment that I needed and there it was. So, sometimes you get to that place where you just got to ask the ethers for some help, you know?
Hmm. For
Yeah,
real. And you got to make room for it because the longer you
right.
focus and drive your concentration, the more your brain is getting locked into, I can't get this done.
So thank you
Wonderful.
so much, Vicki, for
Thank
taking
you
time
for
out to
asking
talk with
me.
me. Oh, you're so welcome. And you're inspiring. You always inspire me. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
And you likewise, Muriel.
thank
All right.
you. So we are Abracadabra sisters, even though Vicki is my Abracadabra sister today. So thank you. Bye.